Before we begin, thank you very much to Alan W. for pitching in over on Ko-fi. Thank you very much for the direct contribution to the channel to help keep what I'm doing alive. They have left a message informing me that they don't know if we will make it for a year of these like we did the last shout-out streak, but they at least want to try for August. I'm not saying anything. I am not saying anything. I appreciate the support. That's all I'm saying. And I know the shoutouts every single video get annoying to some, but please understand these are people who are pitching in so that I can continue to do this for everybody. You get a free video from me every single day, and you have for almost 4 years now, and it is based solely on people pitching in on Patreon or now, pitching in on Ko-fi, whichever they prefer. So, yeah. This is very, very important, so they deserve to be shouted out, and they deserve to be thanked publicly. So, I'm sorry if it gets annoying, but it's what they deserve. It's the least of what they deserve for the help. So, on to the topic of the day. So, I am looking at the brand new Hasbro Pulse Fanstream that was posted earlier today, and I will admit, we've seen a lot of this, and in fact, some of it is even goofier than just, oh, we've seen it before. We will get to that briefly. But for now, we are going to take a look at it. I'm going to give my thoughts and my opinions on everything. First off, yeah, they got this out of the way immediately, because of course you're going to get this out of the way immediately. They acknowledged that they were behind on this one, that we've already seen it, that people have already posted it out there. 86 Megatron's already very well known in the fandom at this point. So they touched on a few things, just like how impressed they were that, there's no tank visible in the robot whatsoever. They made it a point to make sure they didn't have some gigantic backpack of treads like they have done on the previous Megatron. Like, there was a lot of genuine effort to addressing the issues we had with the previous figure, and making sure that did not happen again. I do really appreciate just knowing that they took that into consideration and came up with a Megatron that was categorically better in every regard. Like, this looks absolutely fantastic. Apparently, this was a very long wait where they really wanted to pace out 86 in a way that it had these, like, big events hitting. So, like, once they got 86 Optimus out, that was the time to start figuring out 86 Megatron. Like, Evan kept holding off until the timing on it was right. So they've been cooking on this for a hot minute, which is probably the reason why so many Siege Megatron retools came out. So we just need Megatrons on the shelf, but we're sitting on this design. So, we gotta wait. They didn't want to make sure they get at least some movie representation in there, which is why he has the sword. It's interesting that 86 Optimus comes with the axe that was from the cartoon, not the movie, but this guy comes with the sword, not the mace. Funny how it works. Obviously, it's a leader class toy. It looks very tiny in the box because it's a very dense leader figure, but it is tall, it is big. It is comparable to the 86 Optimus, which you'll see here in a second. Tank mode is actually based on a real-world concept tank that never made it to production, that was something along the lines of like armored blaster, armored cannon, something of that nature. I can't remember exactly how he described it, but like, this is based on an 80s tank that was designed but never went into production. So that's actually cool to know that there's actual 80s tank element to this design. This actually makes it really interesting. The big thing here, so the big debate with this one is the legs. Now, they didn't address the blue leg thing. They didn't make a point of it. They didn't talk about the discourse online over it. The sample that they are showing here definitely does not show the same hue of blue. There's a little bit of it in there, but it is mostly gray. And this looks fine. I don't have any problem with how he looks here. They're like a little bit blue, but not so much that it's dominating or drawing the eye the way we have seen on the previous ones. So this is going to be a very interesting situation. I don't know if it's just a matter of like certain lighting that people have is picking up the blue elements of the paint and plastic more, or if that really is just like an early production batch that leakers have been getting a hold of and this is closer to the final, or if this was the original intended final and what we got with the blue legs is something the factory did. We don't know. Until this thing is actually found at a Walmart or Target somewhere in the US, or I guess in Canada, because Canada's getting some toys crazy early now. Until this is found at retail and someone with normal lighting actually does photography on this toy, we are going to have no idea what we're actually in store for. Yeah, I had no idea why they didn't. Yeah, like I would have at least like touched on it because it is such a huge thing in the fandom right now, like what color the legs actually are. So it's kind of weird that they chose to just kind of gloss over it. Beyond that, the toy is notably just a little bit higher than the 86 Optimus Prime, just a slightly bit taller, which they thought that was appropriate. That was correct. And I don't mind that. I also think that's correct. And yeah, they look amazing together. They look absolutely amazing together. This is going to be like a landmark piece for the character. I'm just... Look at that. Like you look at the tank and the robot side by side, and it's just an amazing job getting it from one to the other. I can see pieces of the robot in this tank, but like especially in the turret and the panels on the legs. But most of that tank looks like it comes out of nowhere. That's an incredibly impressive job. I don't think that's highlighted nearly as well until you can see the two side by side. I'm excited for this toy. I'm excited for this toy. They did officially announce the reissue of 86 Grimlock for Studio Series, which is nice to see that even Wheelie's included. I thought Wheelie would be dropped from the assortment. I genuinely did. So, yeah, it's nice to see. It is nice to see that Wheelie is making an appearance as well. It's basically just the exact same figure. I mean, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna try to doll it up or anything like that. Like, yeah, it's the same toy. They're just doing it again, but you know what? It's not a bad thing necessarily. You know, it still looks pretty good. Now, one thing to mention with these 86 liters is that if you look on Hasbro Pulse, the price has gone up by $5. So Megatron and this Grimlock are now $60 toys. I don't get into price point very much because I genuinely feel like price is very different for certain people. For me, $60 is like it pushes the line a little bit to where like I would be choosier with my leader class toys. Fortunately, the Megatron looks worth it. Admittedly, if you've not experienced this Grimlock before, it is worth that. Like, that is a really big, really good toy. But I remember talking over and over about how like there's a notable like downgrade in the Dinobots as they were released. You know, first coming with minifigures, then without the minifigures, and then swoops a little bit smaller. And all of that kind of seems to boil down to like, yeah, these were just designed with a sliding budget in mind. You know, so this is the example. You know, so leaders, it looks like leaders are going to be upcharged to 60 now, regardless. Whatever, I will leave it to you to decide whether or not the toys are worth it. It's not for me, because it's a very price is always a subjective thing. They showed off the Thundercracker, and this is where things start getting weird because this is the official debut and reveal of the Gamer Edition Thundercracker. This has already been cited. People have already gone to a normal store and bought this toy. So, it's a little bit anticlimactic. Weird to see pre-orders of this go up in the US when Canada has already gotten it. Someone in my Discord found it in their store and like posted a photo of it. Like, kind of crazy. But no, it's the Starscream mold again. Comes with the same mace they all come with, but this one also has like a machine gun accessory, which does have the 5mm port, so he can hold it normally, or he can do the arm replacement thing like the games. So it's good to see they at least all came with different guns. It was also pointed out they also come with different facial expressions. If you have the 3 Seekers, their faces are all different. Notably, the eye colors are different. In-game, the eyes are different across all 3 Seekers. For Thundercracker, they're yellow, so that's what they went with on the toy, which is kind of cool little detail to point out and really make sure that these toys highlight to make sure they're a little bit different from each other. I like that. But moving on, so more toys that we've already seen, and again, Mixmaster has already shown up in Canada. There are people who can already stand up their Devastator. They talked about this one a little bit. Not a whole lot more to say here, really. Like, they did go over and explain that the reason he is a Voyager is because he needs to be more solidly built, and he needs a big ratchet joint to be the ankle tilt on Devastator, because he's got to support the weight of 4 robots above him. So I'm giving this, I'm still giving this whole set, this set of Constructicons, a little bit of leeway here. Like, I'm trying to be generous to them because, they're trying to make the Deluxes a little bit bigger and the Voyagers a little bit smaller. And so I'm trying to view them all as just like one level. Like, this is the price you have to pay to get all 6, to get the full Devastator. And I'm trying to view the value in that rather than looking at this and going, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I just kind of want to, I don't know, I don't even know what I'm saying now. I lost there was a thought in my head that went completely out the window. I'm a little tired today. It's been a long day. But, Mixmaster looks fine. I like the classic cement truck. He looks really, really nice. I'm still excited for the Constructicons. What I was trying to say is, like, yeah, like, I'm viewing it as, like, here's the total price for all 6. Is it worth having all 6 under this price point? Okay. That's where my brain's boiling it down to. And so far, it seems good. I think so. We saw Scavenger. We saw him as well. This one amuses me so much. Not only because he's the wide body of the whole team, like he's got this barrel chest going on because of the way he transforms, but also, what is up with his pelvis being like half an inch too long? That's freaking me out just a little bit. That looks so weird. It looks like his diaper needs to be changed. Like, that's a weird little proportional thing for me. So, like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, even the team didn't have much to say about this one. Like, Nate and Evan didn't really have a whole lot to say about Scavenger other than, oh, yeah, he's a backhoe. Like, okay, fine. Whatever. I think at that point, once they had all 6 revealed, they're just more excited to talk about Devastator, which granted, yeah, like that's the point. These toys individually, well, let me be honest, they're not all that exciting on their own. All of them have kind of simplified transformations because they're going to be a combiner. These are designed to be the combiner first, and everything else is kind of like what it has to be. So we get into Devastator himself, and then we get proper full view of how he looks. All complete, all correctly colored and painted, and size scaled to other figures. It does look cool. It does look impressive. I'm still going to be annoyed that his torso is asymmetrical, where one tread is green and one tread is purple, and that bugs me. I'm the only one that's bugged by that, but let me have it. The thing for me with this design is still the legs, where, like, yeah, he does look a little bit stumpy to me. Like, he does look a little short. He does look a little bit short in the legs, which is a little bit weird. Like, body proportion scale wise, like, I expect the legs to be a little bit longer than the arms, but they're about the same length here. You know, so he does have a little bit of a squat look to him, which you can justify. He is a stocky combiner boy, so maybe I'll have to see it in hand before I can really determine. Because as we've learned, photos are not great sometimes at conveying how these things look. Otherwise, he does look pretty impressive. I'm gonna have to get it side by side with my Combiner War one in order to actually determine like which one, like if I'm really gonna keep a hold of these, or I'm probably keeping a hold of these just because the individual bots are so much better. But whether or not the combiner one actually has a place in my collection after these get here, that will be determined later. They showed off Elita-1 as if we hadn't seen her 6 months ago. And they even acknowledged that, like, yeah, the pre-orders have been out for like 6 months now. I really wish there was a better explanation as for why it took so long for her to actually be, like, officially up for pre-order, but it's just how it is. They did show off that the toy does have some pretty impressive engineering to it, in particular. And I thought this was incredibly cool. So inside her torso block here are the front wheels of her vehicle mode, which you can see here. Well, there's some wheels of the vehicle mode. I presume there's wheels in there. The point is, in order to fit the wheels in her torso at deluxe size, they actually designed wheels that could fold, but still rotate when they needed to. And apparently Evan was super impressed by this because, like, okay, this is an engineering trick we'd never done before. And it sounds like a really cool engineering trick. They're like, okay, the wheels themselves transform, but they still roll. That's actually really cool. I've only seen that on, like, Third Party or Adamus Machina Rodimus. Like, he does something akin to that. These wheels fold up and tuck into her chest, which is super cool. Just nice of them to finally acknowledge the toy, though I really would have liked at least some kind of cursory explanation as to why there was such a huge delay in getting her out. Oh well. And they showed off Starscream as well. Not a lot to mention here, other than, they did say, yeah, we are planning other Seekers, because it is a Seeker mold. Obviously, they want to get their uses out of it. But the designers for the movie decided to make changes to all of the Seekers. So even though they have the same base body, there's details that are different. So now they basically have to, like, look at the toy from the ground up and figure out what needs to be changed to make Thundercracker, Skywarp, whoever else they want to do from that cast. They also explain the weird gun that he has, and that comes from the vehicle mode, kind of being based off of the Bumblebee version of the Tetrajet, which has that weird, like, hangy down portion on the bottom side. So that's where he's getting that weird gun from. You know, it's from them emulating that version of the vehicle mode. I do like how this looks otherwise, though. Like, I'm like popping back and forth just to kind of see where, like, all the details end up. It's a really nice looking design. Really nice looking design. I like how the nose cone folds forward a little bit to give this like a rounded chest look, and then all kind of comes together that way for the jet mode. I can see where his underside is just arms and legs tucked up underneath his wing backpack, but it definitely looks like a lot more is going into it than that. So I really do want to see just what they came up with for this toy. It looks like it's going to be really neat. It looks like it's going to be really neat. Yeah, and seeing them side by side is nice too. Elita ends up being a little bit shorter, which you would expect. Also, they did make a point with Elita that the first time they showed her off, it was the version of the toy they used for stop motion photography and videos, which meant they had to drill through her feet in order to position her in the stop motions, and that required them to remove her heels, which is why the original one that they were showing off couldn't stand up. This one can. She has heels. She will stand. She also comes with the generic gun that the miners use, as well as the jetpack that the miner used. So if you want those accessories for your others, they are intercompatible, which is great to see. They showed off Widowmaker and explaining the long history of this one. So the official name is the KSI Widow. So the vehicle mode they went with is one that actually appeared in the movie, but they wanted, but they never really got a good look at the robot mode. So they took something that was in the movie for the vehicle mode, shifted it a little bit into orange, and then used the rest of it to and use that like unused Widowmaker design in order to create KSI Widow, who does look really cool. I mean, it's very rare when I get a Studio Series toy at this point that isn't, 86 or Gamer Edition or anything like that. It's weird it's very rare when I get a Movieverse one. But this one is getting close. I might wait to see how she is. Someone needs to tell me in hand how she is, because she actually doesn't look too bad. And and I like this idea of like going to the concept art to create brand new toys for Studio Series, because yeah, like there's some really good designs they left on the floor. This is one of them. I really like how she turned out. We will see. We will see if it piques my interest. I will have to hear how she is. They finally showed off the next timeline set, which is going to be Megatron and Bumblebee. Everything went up for pre-order, which, by the way, link in the description below to pre-order all of these toys I've talked about so far at Entertainment Earth. I do get a commission off of that, full disclosure, so using that link below does help the channel. Thank you very much for doing so. I appreciate it. But, yeah, don't use the coupon code anymore. Like the TJOmega code does not work anymore. Use the link in the description. So, yeah, they confirmed that the first batch of these is going to be available at San Diego Comic-Con, and then more are going to hit Fan Channel later on after that. So, yeah, the photo on the Bumblebee, let's come back to that. I think here, like, the big deal is that Canon Megatron that just looks so incredible. There's more concept art that never actually saw it to the comic books, but it was always a crazy design for Megatron. I think everyone wanted that particular design. So we are finally getting it, Megatron as a cannon. And it does look really, really cool. The Bumblebee vehicle mode is a super cute little steam engine. I love that. That robot. It doesn't look like his robot body has a lot of like mass to it. Like, it doesn't look very like dense. It almost looks like if you told me that like behind that chest everything back there is hollow and it's just kind of like parts floating on him, I would believe you, because that's what it looks like. And his torso just looks way too long. Like, torso's too long, legs are too short. The proportions on that toy are all over the place, and I'm not a fan. I have a third-party one that did it just fine. Looks great. Don't know what went wrong here. You see, there's a group shot. There's no real good group shot on stream of like all four, but it's like they make a really, really cool looking foursome. And they did show off the combined art for the boxes, so this, you can put those side by side and it forms one scene, which is great. They did mention that this is how timelines is going to work. So it's going to be the same four characters in different time periods. Hearts of Steel was just a great place to start that off, to kind of put them in like the Iron Age, or Bronze Age. I don't know ages. Like back in the steam locomotive age, whatever. They know what the 2026 is going to be, but they mentioned that this was going to be the next one was going to be more original, meaning that it's not necessarily going to be tied to any particular timeline. We could see all four of them as dinosaurs or something, not necessarily like Beast Wars, but still like G1 Megatron as some kind of dinosaur or something like that. That's not what they said. They just said that it was going to be more original and not like pulling from a comic book or something, though it seems to be some of the intention behind this. I'm looking forward to, I mean, I just reviewed 1-2-pack and I really liked it. I am looking forward to Bumblebee and Megatron, despite how weird that Bumblebee looks. And then they got into some stuff toward the end that actually really, really made me happy, because it's the stuff that they should be doing more often. They showed off the gray proto for Arachnid, our very first look at this toy. She looks fantastic. She is a deluxe, which surprised me because she's got so many joints and parts going on. I could have sworn this would have been a Voyager, but no. Deluxe. So apparently what they were working with when they were designing these toys, Deluxe was the price point that made sense. Once they saw her in the movie and how much bigger they made her look, they kind of went, oh, that might upset a few people. But the toy does look really, really nice and impressive. One thing to note is that since she has those like blades for legs, like those those curved pieces for the legs, they did have to add heel spurs, so she's a little bit inaccurate in that regard. But you want her to be able to stand up. But they did mention that these legs are on ball joints. They are articulated. You can do a lot with them, so they are very, very posable. And yet they still somehow transform into this hover vehicle mode, complete with a rotor. Like the rotor in the back the back rotor, that spins? That's really impressive. I'm really, I can see how that works in my head, but like, I really want to see it like actually function. This is Grey Proto, so things are still potential to change. I'm not feeling the front here, which is just like the hollow legs that are folded up kind of. I hope that changes a little bit, but then again, I might have to go back and look to see how she actually looked in the movie to see how accurate that is. Like, there's part of me that looks at that and goes like, it's not quite right. But other than that, like, I'm really impressed that that's a deluxe of all size classes. That just looks really impressive. And then they showed off the Voyager class Alpha Trion. And this, again, looks pretty cool. So, the Grey Proto here, they're just the first run resin prototypes. They made sure to mention in that all of the battle damage is sculpted in. All like the rust and the moss is all sculpted in for painting. So this is going to look really impressive once it's painted. They did show off another prototype. This one, apparently, I'm guessing that means this one's a little bit farther along than Arachnid. This is one of the early protos, the type that they would use to show what parts come from what mold. They did mention that the tail had to do something, so it's just kind of this electro whip weapon. Okay, whatever. I'm just, I just so accustomed to just like the tail becomes a whip. But other than that, he does look neat. It's good to see that a proper Alpha Trion's coming out for the movie design. Nice to see. And yeah, this is the kind of stuff they need. Instead of just doing like Space Bridge, like here's pictures of what we were doing, they decided to bring in actual prototypes and do that more often, please. Because it's really, really cool when you do, and it gets ahead of like the leakers and all this. So, great to see. I love seeing this. Now, a few other things to touch on, because they did make mention of a few more things. Number one, Evan. Weird coincidence today. Also, Evan is in the same boat as me in the Super 7 made this shirt really cheap and the colors all faded after one turn in the washer club. But they did make a mention of a few things. For number one, they did a fan poll. They actually asked a question they wanted comments to in the comment section of, do you want to see Season 1 and 2 Transformer characters in Studio Series 86, even if they weren't in the movie? Which is a very divisive thing, I can imagine. So there is that. Also mentioned, a few other combiners that they talked about a lot, which was... for instance, okay, what do I think of? They mentioned that the two that get comments on a lot were Defensor and Predaking, which Predaking would have to be done with large figures. They acknowledged that Rail Racer would have to be done with Titans, because every individual member of Rail Racer is absolutely gigantic. That's one reason why you haven't seen a new one. They also mentioned Monstructor, because they're aware that the pieces are out there, and they did confirm that it wouldn't be dinosaurs. If they did Monstructor, it would not be dinosaurs. So, apparently they've had thoughts on that. Apparently there is intention behind that, because they didn't completely shoot it down. What they did mention was Skids and Mudflap, where they constantly say that they try to complete sets, and then everyone goes, well, Skids and Mudflap, we are incomplete in our Revenge of the Fallen collection. They have mentioned that there is no plan for them. That Evan views it as an eventuality. They will have to go there. But if they are pulling out concept art of unreleased characters, unused characters, and then still just saying, hey, we don't have Skids and Mudflap planned, that will tell you how much they do not want to release Skids and Mudflap. Well, it's an eventuality. Like they mentioned the difference between what makes things hard to release, and for Skids and Mudflap, it's not like a legal thing like Megatron is a gun. It's not as like a tricky ask, like a combiner who has to have everything in perfect position. That has to be perfect timing to get all 5 or 6 members out. No, for Skids and Mudflap is much more an emotional thing. Where like we know why the characters are off the table. They wouldn't mention it. Good for them. That's actually the way to approach that. But you know what? They did mention they would eventually be coming. But if they're not in plans right now, that means they're going to be like at least 2 years off. And speaking of, they also mentioned that any box set for the Constructicons is also going to be about 2 years off. Right now, they've claimed they have no plans for a box set for the 86 Constructicons in 2025, 2026, or 2027. So nothing on the table for that whatsoever. That way you don't feel gypped if you went in on the original releases. This way you get like at least 2 years heads up, and then the box set, if they do one, would be like a second chance thing. And that's the way to approach that as well. I'm still like looking here like G2. We never got G2 on the last Constructicon, so we get G2 this time. Do Diaclone. that's actually like close to G. That's close to G2 as well. But that's pretty much going to do it. That's pretty much everything they touched on that is worth mentioning. Yeah, a lot of it, like we said, we've seen a lot of it before, but it is good to hear it directly from the designers' mouths, because you do hear a lot about what the toys are beyond just, what the leakers can show you, and that's for the best. And honestly, like, yeah, like they've picked up the presentation a lot. Nate especially. I gave Nate a hard time when he started stepping in for these. I think he's done way better. I think he has done way better than his first little showing on the reveal streams. So that's the roundup. Those are all the new toys, and those are my thoughts in general. So let me know what you thought of all the new stuff and the new ways that they are approaching releasing these, like with like the prototypes, which is such a good thing to see. Let me know everything you thought in the comments below, and as always, I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.